So,
Yeah.
welcome.
Oh, you
Oh,
want me
go
to? I was
ahead. Am
going
I
to
done? Am
introduce
I?
you. Yes, you're a very important longtime member with us since 2017. Camille reminded me, so you deserve a little bit of a proper introduction. So give you a
Go
minute.
for it, Laura.
All right, welcome everybody to August's. This is our expert wellness series. If you are a guest here, because we are made up of this event, it has both members and non-members that were welcome. So if you're new to us, Holistix Online, it's a resource center and community hub for holistically minded professionals and those who want products, services to live a more holistically aligned lifestyle. We offer experiences for both professionals and seekers. I am Laura Goldstein, and I will be hosting today's gathering. We're so glad to have you here as a member and as a non-member, as a guest. We have, like I said, a lovely long-term member, Felicia Searcy, and she's been speaking with us for a while. And while this is a businessy topic, we made it a wellness series event just because you don't have to be in business to have barriers that prevent you from reaching your goals. It could be a business goal, it could be a health goal, it could be a relationship goal. So it kind of married both elements. So we decided to make this a wellness event. Felicia will do a much better job of introducing herself. But again, long-term member since 2017. Wow, almost 10 years. Uh,
Oh.
how we have changed since then.
Yes. Yes. In fact, I just connected with somebody who has been around with you all a bit. And so, yeah, it's been pretty amazing to watch. Camille, we met. Where did we meet? We met at Charlotte and Jesse's Christmas party, I think. But I think I was a member before that in Ventura, Thousand Oaks. But we officially met at Jesse
Yes.
and Charlie's party up in the Bay Area.
And
Uh,
now you're based in Tucson
yes.
and have just been a part of our community all along. And now that I'm working with you personally, like all the better, like magic and miracles all around. So, today is about what you have to share. I will say I love what you're doing with the Human Success Code. So I don't want to get in the middle of all that. I'm gonna
Yeah.
go mute myself but very excited.
Yeah, well, good. Well, let me jump into this. So, I want to welcome everybody, and I really want to acknowledge you for stepping away from life coming at you, right? That there were a gazillion things that you could have done today, and you chose to be here. And I appreciate that you're coming to hear the speaker, which is me this morning. But the thing more than anything is this is a wellness series. I really want to acknowledge and emphasize that what you're here is to listen to your own voice of inspired insight, that we're creating the environment for you all to be able to listen deeply to what's coming alive through and for you. So my intention during our time together is to really help you. Now, here's the thing that I appreciate about the Holistic Chamber. We come to this already with a high degree of spiritual sophistication, that the principles you're hearing from me today are not going to be revolutionary and brand new. And you've experienced some success from it. And one of the things that I've learned, and I will be sharing here in a moment, my story, and what I've seen with literally the thousands of people that I've worked with over the years, is that we all have a ceiling. No matter how well we know these principles, we all have a ceiling. And my intention is to help you understand how to not only navigate that, but to understand the nuances and subtleties of working with universal principles that will help you break through that ceiling. This is not about going after your blocks or changing your subconscious mind, although that's pieces of it. This is about allowing a vision to pull you through that ceiling as you learn how to build a relationship and listen and be informed by that vision, because it literally has a life of its own. So with that, let me share with you why I am on fire with this. I'm 66. I discovered these principles when I was 22. So I've been a student of these principles for 44 years. It'll be 44 years in October that I've studied universal principles. I discovered these principles at a really dark time in my life. Like I said, I was 22 years old and came from just a really challenging, quite frankly, horrific background. Both my parents struggled with mental illness. There was addiction in the mix. And so by the time I hit 22 years old, I either needed to find a different way of living or I was going to find a way out. And this was the first time that somebody had introduced to me the idea that I was not at the mercy of my history, but that I really could change my life by changing how I thought, changing how I saw myself, changing my relationship with what I call source energy. I didn't quite know how, but I had hope, and I grabbed hold of what I was learning with everything that I was worth. And fast forward several decades later, my life changed. My life got really good. In fact, outside looking in, I wanted for nothing. But yet there was still this longing, this discontent, this desire for more. Now, when I work with people in 4 areas: the area of your health, your relationships, your vocation, which is why we are a member of Holistic Online, and your freedom with your time and your money. And the 2 areas that were real sticking points for me were my vocation and my income. I wanted to make a bigger impact with both. And I was doing all the things. I was getting help with strategy. I was learning how to market. I'd actually stepped out to start a spiritual community teaching these principles. And I was getting help with marketing. I was getting help with enrolling people in leadership and culture. And I was still saying my affirmations, and I was still looking at my vision board. And I hit a ceiling. I hit a point and I got stuck. Now, here's the thing, and here's the thing I want everybody on here to hear, because my sense is this is where some of you may be. It's a good stuck. It's an enviable stuck, right? Other people may look at you and they say, well, dang, what they got is really good. But you know that you're stuck. And here's the thing about stuck. Stuck is stuck, and stuck stinks, no matter how good it is. And I remember just literally hitting that wall, like bumping up against that ceiling, and just feeling so frustrated and really beginning to wonder if I should walk away from it all. And I literally remember calling out, what do you want from me? What am I supposed to do? And I heard a really quiet, get help. And it wasn't a helpful statement because I had gotten help. But I heard it again, get help. And I knew this time it wasn't help with more strategy, but it was help really understanding the power of these principles. And I, even just the level of study that I had done had changed my life, but now I wanted to soar. I didn't want normal. I wanted to learn how to soar. That's when I made a decision to put myself at the feet of some of the most powerful human potential teachers on the planet, who really helped me harness the power of what I already knew. And then I could unlock the subtleties and nuances that I was missing. And as a result, I really have been able to define, describe, label what I now call the Human Success Code. It's a culmination of my 44 years of study and my deeper study over the last 15 years. And as a result, my life continues to transform. So my life today, my husband, that we've been together for almost 40 years, we'll be together in 40 years in October, was able to retire from his work 7 years earlier than what we anticipated. I have the honor of serving the dreams of thousands of people around the world. My income is such that I'm able to contribute tens of thousands of dollars to organizations that are doing really good work. We live in Tucson. We love Tucson. I just continue to love what I'm doing, love every aspect of my work, my life. But here's the thing that I've discovered along the way that I want you to hear. My life is great, but that's actually not the reason why you showed up today. That's not the reason why we have a desire. See, we are these amazing beings. We know this. And the only way life has to wake us up to even more of our amazingness is to put something in our heart that we don't know how to do. That's going to pretty much, if we want it, force us to discover different elements of ourselves. It's going to require us to grow. The purpose of your dream is not to achieve things. It's not to check off, check. It's to grow you. It's for who we become in the process. And this, my friends, is what we're up to. So if you are up for that, put your hand on your heart and say, I'm in. Let's do it again. Put your hand on your heart and say, I'm in. Now, point to a Hollywood square or the Brady Bunch square to somebody around you and say, I can see you're in. All right. So I talked about the human success code. Now, they dropped in. They literally dropped in, because what I realize is that, people talk a lot about universal law. And I've talked a lot about, in the over 30 years of doing this work, I've talked a lot about universal law. But I don't know that I ever really researched where the laws came from, right? And, the Hamitic tradition, they're like 3,000 years old and they're very complicated. And then, the Kabbalah came along and, modified them a little bit. But they dropped in a very simple way. Now, here's the caveat with this. I had a very dear mentor tell me that I work primarily with entrepreneurs, and in entrepreneurs, we don't like to be told what to do. And the word law can be pretty restrictive. So I have labeled them as 7 non-negotiable keys, that they're keys, so they're possibility that they can open up, but they really are non-negotiable. So here are 7, and then I've got 3, and then if we have time, I have a bonus 4th that I'm going to go through today to really help you honor and celebrate the level of awareness that you currently have, understanding that your current level of awareness is not sufficient for you to achieve the next level desire that you have. So if we have time, I'll give you a bonus key. So law number 1 is the law of creation. We're going to dig deeper into this. Key number 1 is the key of creation. Key number 2, key of coherence. Then we have the key of boundless good. The key of circulation, the key of release, the key of elegant movement, and the key of fulfillment. So as I shared, we're going to go through 3 primary keys to break through that ceiling and to create the results. Laura, could you spotlight me? Or could somebody spotlight me to create the kind of results that you would love? All right, so let's start with the key of creation. There we go. Thank you. Here's the thing to understand. We are unlimited creators with an unlimited capacity to create anything that you can think of. Now, you know this, right? We know this fundamentally at the core of our being. We have all heard, if you can conceive it, believe it, you can achieve it. Give me some head nods if you know this to be true. Or put, I know that, yeah, thank you, Giovanna, that we know this to be true. And yet, there can often be a disconnect between what you know to be true, what you see in your imagination, and what actually shows up in the land of your facts. What's going on? Why the disconnect? Well, here's the thing. Life gets loud. life can get so loud. You see what's in your bank account, you see what's coming in, and your nervous system gets a little nervous. You see what's on your calendar and all the demands that are pulling at your time, or the lack of what you want on your calendar. You may see your history, and your history tells you that you can't do this, or it's just not going to happen. And that bracing for failure rather than assuming success is so insidious. It's so insidious. And so what happens is, we see what's going on in the news. We see what's going on in the world. And so what happens is that you want to believe it. And yet there's this erosion of trust that this is really yours. And you start backing away so subtly. It's so subtle how people back away from what it is that you really want. Here's the thing to understand. We are all connected to this indescribable, indefinable power that's within us and moving us and animating us. And that this power is bigger than any situation, circumstance, and condition. And when we can remember that we are actually being called to be an instrument for this power, and our dream is how we create a portal for this power to now express through us, we realize there's nothing too big for us to achieve because we're not doing it alone. All right, let me share with you Mary's story. When I met Mary, she's an alternative health provider, beautiful, beautiful woman. And she had created a good business, but she was working 60, 70, sometimes 80 hours a week. And she had people in her family that were dependent on her. And so the thought for Mary of dreaming bigger became exhausting, irresponsible, and quite frankly, selfish. But she came to hear me speak, and she heard me talk about two things. Number one, she heard me talk about how there is no private good, that what's good for Mary is good for everybody. And then she heard me talk about how that dream is not her dream. That dream is not your dream. That is a divinely inspired dream. You have received that dream. Those things were enough to give her hope. And we got going. And Mary began to work the rest of the formula. And in this key of creation, one of the things that Mary began to do is to work with one of the most powerful questions. I frankly think it is the most powerful question that we can work with. It's the holiest question that we can work with, which is, what would I love? What would I love to do, be, have, give? What would I love? And Mary realized she wanted to build her business, but she wanted to do it in a way that felt really good. So she began to apply the rest of the code, shaky, scary, fighting those voices. And I'm going to talk more about what to do with those voices as they will pop up. Mary's life transformed. Mary grew her business. She doubled it while she's only working 20 hours a week. And so Mary now is writing a children's series, a series of books for kids, sharing some of the wisdom and the knowledge that she has. She's spending time with friends, and her family members that were so dependent on her, they figured it out. They have found ways to solve their own problems. But the thing that Mary talks about, the power, the real gift that she has gained from this, is that for the first time in her life, she really gets, she matters. Her dream matters. So, my question for all of you, and I'm going to invite you to jot it down and maybe even put it in the chat. What's the big, bold dream you would love to create? What's the dream knocking at the door of your heart? What would you love? What's one thing that within the next 12 months you would love to create for yourself? What's one thing? I'm going to invite you to take a moment and jot it down, because this is the invitation to break through the ceiling. Yeah, Lisa, that's wonderful. Where are you located to build your space? Grow your chronic condition community to more than 100. That's great, Layla. Northeast Ohio. Okay, yeah, definitely would serve up there. Yeah, so whether you put it in the chat or write it down, I want to be in a new community for my next chapter as an empty nester. Yeah, Elizabeth. And to launch my Taming Diabetes Differently program. You know, here's the thing I want you all to hear. Now, you may have heard this before, and so please forgive me if I'm, repeating something that you already know. But everything that you wrote down, whether you wrote it down physically or you put it in the chat, it wants you. Everything that you put down wants you. Increase awareness of the redox signaling molecules and the impact it will have on society. And then Camille, to cover the U.S. coast to coast with Holistic Online members so people all over can find holistic health and wellness solutions. Love it, love it, love it. And again, these people are looking for you. All right, so let's then look at what is the next key then. So you've got the vision, right? You've got this desire, and all of you are putting, beautiful, beautiful declarations in the chat. And Barry, to build your 𝗘𝗍𝗍𝗪𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍 𝗘𝗍𝗿𝗁 team to 1,000 by the end of the year. Yeah. All right. So let's go on to then the key of coherence. Now, again, I get it. I'm speaking to a sophisticated group, and I'm going to invite you to just check in to see where are the nuances that you're being asked to come to know even more. Here's the thing to understand. Everything is energy. Everything is energy. You know, when this may be a little too much information, but I live in the Tucson desert, right? I mean, we are in the desert. And yesterday on my hike, there was a big old rattlesnake on the side of the road. Couldn't tell if it was dead or alive, so I gave it wide berth, right? Come to find out, it was dead. And somebody picked it up, but if it would have stayed there, it would have disintegrated, right? Because it's vibrating. When things die, the way that they disintegrate is that they're vibrating, and everything vibrates at a particular frequency. Now, we've all heard like attracts like. If you were to put two baby grand pianos right next to each other and you hit the middle C in one piano, the string of the second piano is going to vibrate. And it might even vibrate loud enough to be able to hear it a little bit, but there's going to be some vibration in it because middle C is vibrating with middle C. We, my friends, are vibrating. And we are attracting that which we vibrate. Now, here's the thing. You don't vibrate at the level of what you want. You don't attract at the level of what, of what you want. You vibrate and attract at the level of what you see yourself as. Every single one of us has our own energetic signature, based on how we see ourselves. This is our identity. So you have your vibration, you're vibrating. This is what you are in coherency with. This is what you are now attracting, which creates your results. Here's the thing to understand. Let me come back to this. Your dream, that desire, remember the purpose of your dream is not for you to achieve. The purpose, and this is not about having a desire and raising your vibration to manifest the desire, right? This is about understanding that your vision is asking you to see yourself differently. Your vision is asking you to see yourself in a way that you have not seen yourself before. I've watched Camille over the last, I think almost 2 years now that we've been together, Camille, that you've, coming up on 2 years that you've been a client. I've watched you change the way you see yourself. And you had to build an organization. You had a desire for an organization. You began to change the way you see yourself. So now the organization has to match the new way of seeing yourself. Yeah, exactly, Camille. And this is the piece that people miss. Most people engage with this with, I have a vision. Let me raise my vibration to meet that vision, and you'll manifest, right? This is what I call episodic manifestation. You manifest in the episode, but you are not fundamentally transformed. That's it, Lisa. Who are we becoming? And it's so subtle that your dream is asking you to see a dynamic. It's like, go back to the analogy of the piano, and again, at a level of spiritual sophistication that many of you all have, everybody here has achieved. This isn't the big wild changes. It's those subtle shifts, and it's maintaining those subtle shifts. It's maintaining that ability to see yourself as life sees you. We don't see ourselves the way that life sees us. We see ourselves based on, what's come before. And the dream is holding up. Have you ever seen, I should get a picture of this. Have you ever seen that picture where the cat is looking in the mirror and it sees the lion? That's the mirror that life is holding up for us. I don't care how successful you've become. Life is always asking you to see a new level, a new image of yourself that now can be a match for the vision. And so you don't have to focus on raising your vibration. You focus on who life is asking you, how life is asking you to see yourself, who you're becoming. How are you being asked to show up in any given situation? But the mistake that people make is that they see themselves, they see the vision, and it just feels so far out of reach that they start watering it down. And you're not even aware that you're doing this. You're not aware that you're watering it down to match maybe a little bit of a stretch of who you are today. But the problem with a watered down dream is that you end up with a watered down life. When you understand that the law of creation, right, the key of creation, is inviting you to see yourself as life force energy sees you. See yourself through the eyes of this source energy. You realize there's nothing that you are unable to accomplish. All right, so let me share with you Brian's story. Brian, just beautiful trifecta of skills. He's an attorney, an insurance salesman, and a financial planner. And Brian wanted to create a one-stop. He wanted to put his business online, and he wanted to create a one-stop shop where everybody could come and people could come and get all those needs taken care of right there. And he studied with the big boys digitally on how to do this. And he was pouring money. In fact, he was bleeding money to the point where his wife was having to stay in a job that she didn't particularly care for. I was very impressed for what he accomplished. And so Brian did, quote, the sensible, logical thing. Brian went and got a job, a really good job, where they paid him right around $250,000 a year. But every time Brian went in, he had to check his soul at the door. And so he came and he heard me, and he heard me talk about two concepts. One of them being this idea of coming from your vision rather than getting to your vision, and this idea of assumed success. And even after the years of personal development and spiritual study, just like Mary, that he had done, those were two concepts that he realized that were missing. And so he stepped in and we got going. And Brian really began to learn how to not just see where he was successful at things, but to really see himself and identify with himself as a successful person and to assume success. It goes back to what I talked about at the very beginning. Most people, again, it's so subtle. Most people brace themselves for disappointment or failure. Very few people really just approach things with an assumption that it's all worked out. I'm just going to invite you just to put that on, just whatever you got coming up next. Look at something on your calendar today and imagine that you're walking through it. What does it feel like? And what does it sound like? And what's the identity of the person, the energetic signature of the person who just assumes it's going to work out? That's what Brian began to really play with and become so much more proficient with, that single item, to learn that single item of how to go through life assuming a success. He didn't work on raising his vibration. He worked on that. And as a result, things transformed for Brian. Brian decided that he wanted to go out and try again. But he wanted to make sure that he replaced his income. As Brian really began to put these things into practice, he replaced his income within 6 months. And Brian talks about how business just comes to him. Like he'll go out to eat. And he talked about one particular example where he went out to eat and he got into a conversation with another couple that they didn't know before they went into the restaurant, just sitting there and ended up making an appointment with Brian and became clients. And it's become that easy for him. It's coming to Brian out of the blue. Where's the blue? It's when you come into coherency with what's already there. But the thing that Brian talks about, the greatest gift that Brian has been given from this, is that for the first time he realizes the universe has got his back. He's really come to trust that life is for him. And he moves through life with a lighter step a lighter touch to his step. So my question for you is, what is your vision asking you to discover and claim about yourself? Who is your dream asking you to become? What's one quality that your dream is asking you to claim and step into? I'm going to invite you to write it down, and if you're really inclined, to put it in the chat. What's one quality? And, for me, I had to own the quality of authority, that I am an authority in this space, that I bring value. And here's the quality I really had to own. I come from a background of nonprofit. I taught school for 20 years. I taught in some of the most impoverished areas, of where I was. Then I became a minister. I had to learn how to own the identity of being a wealthy person based on my own efforts, not my husband's efforts, but my own efforts. I had to learn how to let it be okay to be wealthy from my business, knowing that every single penny that comes into my bank account is representative of somebody's lives transformed. To set boundaries, that I'm enough and capable. That's it, Lisa. Come out of my shell, claim my authority, and be seen. Because, Layla, people want to see you. You have something for them that they need. Lisa, that you are enough. Now, you may not know how to do it right now, In fact, here's the thing I want everybody to understand. If you know how to do it, then your dream is not big enough. But there's that in you that does know, and the capability that you can learn it. Yeah, being seen, to be more self-focused. Elizabeth, you're a pretty... Oh, self-focus. Yes. Now that I would agree with. Elizabeth's my assistant. So I don't know if she knows this, but, basically that gives me permission to, you and Camille. A solid knowing that I know enough. Yeah. And it's so subtle. Right? And you know it to the level that you know it. And then the dream is like shining that spotlight saying, and now discover this and discover this and then discover this. See, I don't go after blocks, right? They're going to reveal, they're revealing the vision, the dream is revealing that. Now you can see what you're being asked to claim about yourself. So, all right. So with that, let's go to the key of release. Because now you know what life is asking you to claim and see about yourself. Law of physics, two things cannot occupy the same space at the same time, right? You cannot be afraid and confident at the same time. I was going to say courageous, but you can be afraid and courageous. In fact, that's what courage is to do it even when you're afraid, right? You can't be resentful and loving at the same time. Things can't be hard and easy at the same time. So when you have a dream, and every single one of you do, otherwise you wouldn't be a member of Holistic Online, there has been something that has worked well for you. Right? There has been something that has served you well. Like, for me, this identity of nobility, I was very noble in the work that I did. And when for the first time ever in my career, except for a very short stint with a contract company as I was a speech therapist, I'd always worked for nonprofits, right? So when I stepped into a business, a for-profit business, I had to let go of that identity of nobility, that struggle and hard work and, getting by on your bootstraps and working in some of these really tough places. I had to let go of that identity to make room for ease and transformation and abundance and growth, because excuse my language, you're not gonna listen to a broke fill in the blank person who it's hard work and struggle. That's it, Camille. Yes, let go of the Volkswagen for the Porsche, or whatever it is that you want to do. So the challenge is that we're being asked to release something that's been working or we've been deeply attached to. But when you let go, and if you're able to identify, right? So those of you that put in the chat, things like not being visible. Well, my sense is not being visible, there's a sense of safety in that, right? And when you let go of the need to defend yourself, the need to protect yourself, and allow the mission of your vision to be bigger than the need to hide, now life can work with that, right? A solid knowing that I'm enough. When you let go of the pattern of not enoughness, and the crazy thing is that it's served in some way, you're able to make room for the awareness of enoughness, that you are more than enough. All right, so let me share with you Becky's story. I'm not going to show you a picture right now because I want to build up to it. So when I met Becky has a wellness store that she has a brick and mortar where she sells wellness products, and Becky's got a bit of a witchiness to her as well. And when I met Becky, she would get up on Sunday morning with a knot in her stomach because that was the day she'd have to do her books. And she was constantly moving money around, wondering if she was going to have enough to pay her payroll, her rent, all things, and not paying herself. And then Becky was really at the point where she was ready to walk away from it all. Her marriage was struggling. And she kept going back and forth as to whether or not she wanted kids, but there was just no space because not only was she wondering how she was going to pay for things, but she was working. She was another one that worked hard, 50, 60, sometimes 70 hours a week. Becky heard me talk about this nobility in hard, how hard is a habit. And she was another one that had years of personal development and spiritual study. And she wanted help on how to let go of the habit of hard and start allowing ease. And as Becky started trusting ease, released the pattern of hard, and started trusting ease, things began to transform. Becky opened another business. She now has a multi-million-dollar enterprise. She works maybe 20 hours a week. And she's due in October. That at 40 years old, she got pregnant. I was like, I still just get chills when I think about it. And her primary mastery was to let go of the habit of hard, to let go of the habit, the belief that you gotta give it your all in order for it to work and really come to understand ease. So, what's your vision asking you to release for you to make room for your next version of good? So when you look at what is your vision asking you to claim, see about yourself, what are you being asked to let go of? To trust that what you wrote down under the key of coherence will actually more than replace what you're being asked to let go of. That is, you put the focus. Now, here's the thing. It's not so much focusing on releasing, although there is a piece of that. It's focusing. Becky didn't focus on releasing hard. She focused on embracing and trusting ease. Can y'all see the difference? And her vibration automatically raised where she was able to create those kind of results. All right, so we've got a little bit of time left, so I'm going to give you a bonus key. And this is the key of elegant movement. Now, here's the thing to understand. As you're going through this process, right, you've got your vision, and there's a whole process, what I'm going to be sharing with you of how you can get this here in a moment. But there's a whole process of actually writing and working with a vision. So you've got your vision. You're allowing the vision to inform who you're being asked to become, how you're being asked to see yourself. What new energetic signature are you being asked to put on? As you do that, you don't got to go digging for those blocks. It's like there's a spotlight that shows on those areas that have been keeping you from breaking through those ceilings. What are you being asked to release? Here's what happens as you do that. You literally change your brain chemistry. You change the way you think. Different areas of your brain light up, and you become more connected. You become aware of your connection with this life force energy that's always guiding us, that's always directing us. Your vision has a wisdom to it. And the more you're able to work with these keys, the more you come into coherency with the wisdom of your vision, and you allow the wisdom of your vision to guide you. Now, I'm going to give you a question that you can work with at any time to really help you access the resources that are here now. And the question is, what can I do where I am with what I have? Let me say that again. What can I do where I am with what I have? What I love about that question is that it suggests that thank you, Elizabeth, that there's nothing that needs to be added. Nothing needs to be added. Everything required is right here. It's in the room. When we work with coming into coherency, you work with the key of boundless good, trusting that we are abundantly provided for, and releasing that which is no longer serving you, you are able to see that which is in front of you in a way that you couldn't see before. See things differently. All right, so Julie's story, when I met Julie was another one working hard, and she built out a beautiful direct sales company, but she was another one ready to walk away from it. And she heard me talk about this concept of making things welcome rather than making them happen. And she wanted help with that. And so she began to put on, and she was another one that began to work with ease and got an idea to work 3 days a week and be adventure grandmother 4 days a week. Now, she was the primary. Very good to see you. We'll be in touch. I'm going to reach out and share what I'm going to be sharing here afterwards. She was the financial support of her family. And so this is a big step for her to step away. Nevertheless, she was learning to trust the process. And as Julie became faithful to that action step, working 3 days a week and being adventure grandmother 4 days a week, as she was putting on being the woman who was doing this, assuming success, releasing the pattern of hard. Her goal was to maintain her income. Julie didn't maintain her income. She increased it by 40%. And she's not just taking 4 days a week to be adventure grandmother. She's taking weeks to go play in, travel to the national parks with her husband and spend, a couple of weeks at a time with her friend up in Alaska. But the thing that Julie talks about, the gift that she has received, is that for the first time in her life, she understands this concept of flow. She'd heard it a bunch, and now she finally understands this concept of flow. All right, so my question for you, what is your next big, bold, inspired step? I'm going to encourage you to put it in the chat. What's one thing? Go back to that question. What can I do where I am with what I have? What's one action step that you will take today? And I want you to listen to the language in service to your vision. What's one action step that maybe you weren't planning? What new idea maybe has come to you as a result of coming to this training that as you take this action step, it will cause you to break through the ceiling. That this even a small step, small hinges open big doors. What's the small step? Doesn't have to be a big Oprah step. What's the phone call? What's the email? What's the post? What's the thing you're going to do? Speak to my neighbor who could connect me to the Amish community in my area. There you go. Work on your collaboration. And Lisa, what's one specific action step that you will take to work on your action steps? It's a lot of steps to walk a mile. I love that, Camille, right? And every step is required. Every single step is required. All right, so as you all are putting those in, and if you don't put it in the chat, I'm going to invite you to write it down. What's the action step that you're going to take today? All right, so quick review. 4 keys as we're breaking through the ceiling. Number 1, there you go. Notice the difference in the specificity of that action step, right? Very specific. I'm going to reach out to a Parkinson's community. Lisa, go to my friend Viv and ask to collaborate at her wellness space. Notice the difference energetically, right? That a very specific action step refines and defines that energetic signature even more. Well done, everybody. These are great. Okay, so quick review. Know what you want to create, and know that you can create what you want to create. Key of coherence. See something new in you. See yourself the way that life sees you. Release something that is no longer working, and then elegant movement. Take consistent, courageous, bold action. Okay, so as we're breaking through the ceiling, you may be wondering, how do I keep this going? This is great, and possibly there are some of you that are saying, and Felicia, I want to know how to really keep this conversation going. So this is your formal invitation. I have 2 gifts. First one is for everybody in the room, that I have a vision toolkit. Remember, key of creation is foundation to everything. That's where everything starts, is learning how to harness the power of your remarkable gift of your imagination. So this is a vision toolkit where I have created a meditation where you're really able to listen deeply to what is it that you would really love. I've provided instructions on how to write a vision. It's the art and the science of visioning. One of the things that I've discovered over the years is that people have a cursory understanding of how to vision, but very few people really understand the nuances of working with a vision. And then I have created a daily practice, so it doesn't just sit on your shelf or on your desk, but to help you really come into coherency with that vision. So if you would like that, please put the word vision in the chat. Sharon, does the word courage mean you want, that's your trait. Sharon, let us know if you want the vision as well. Yeah, thank you, Elizabeth. This is one of the things that we really dig deep into with my clients. Now, the other thing is not for everybody in the room. I think that, I've got a couple of spots tomorrow and a couple of spots on Thursday. For those of you that know you're ready to break through, you're really ready to break through that ceiling, that you're tired of spinning your wheels, that you know about these principles and you've made some good progress, and now you are ready to pour rocket fuel on it. Let's you and I have an unprecedented breakthrough session. We're really going to break through that glass ceiling. I'll put my eyes on your vision. We'll send you a questionnaire to help you organize your thinking. I'll put my eyes on your vision. I can hear where you're getting stuck in a matter of a few minutes. We'll talk about some tools and how to shift that around, help you make an empowered decision for a bold action. And then if it feels like it's a good fit, we can definitely talk about what it can look like going further. So there's the link. There's the link in the chat. And if you just want to make it easy, if you want to put your name and put breakthrough in the chat, we can get you that information via email as well if you don't want to deal with this. And then, you and I will get on and we will dedicate some time to you, your vision, and really getting you moved forward. So, thank you, Giovanna. All right, so bring this in for a close. Alfred Adler once said that he gave thanks for the idea that sought to use him. I give thanks for the dream that's seeking to use you, because here's what I know. When you say yes to what brings you most alive, your life transforms, the lives of the people around you transform, and here's what really happens. Our world transforms. All right. God bless everybody.
Thank you so much, Felicia, for being here and sharing your wisdom. I really appreciate the questions that you asked, because no matter where we are in our journey, these are great questions that we can just spend some time reflecting on. I've got myself like a lot of little nuggets I'm like over here, like writing down in my book. Not paying it, like I'm paying attention, but I'm like, I hope nobody new is like joining, because I'm like paying attention to like my little notes that I'm writing.
That's good, Laura. And here's the thing. I don't care how far along we are in the spiritual journey. We're never done. We're just never done. And that is the beauty of our vision, is that it's inviting us into those levels and layers that, we just haven't discovered yet.
Yes.
So,
Isn't that the truth? We're always journeying to where we are going next.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. So,
Thank you so much. And I just want to thank too everybody that attended live for being here, whether you are a member or a guest. We have one more minute, real quick, coming up next week. We have our Conscious Connections Zoom networking. Members, you will receive the link to join automatically the day before and the day of the event. Hope to see you there. Those of you who are not members yet, we'd love for you to join us. You can go to our website, Holistix online, Holistix with an X.com, and learn about membership and all the exciting things that we have coming up. Anything else, Felicia, and anything before we say bye-bye?
it's been a joy. Thank you for allowing me to serve you in this way.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good. Oh, Camille, you have something?
I'll just say, keep connected to each other, and we'll see you next time.
Have a great rest of your day, everybody.
All right. Take care.